Alright, tonight we're cracking open a genuine, obscure, public domain find. This is the complete 22-page serial, Wyndham Keeps Faith. It originally ran in short, 4-page chunks across at least 5 issues of All Heroes comics. What makes it interesting is the way it was built. Every new installment starts with a catch-up section, the classic last time on style recap. But these aren't empty summaries. Each one quietly slips in new details you need in order to understand what happens next. So the recaps aren't optional. They're part of the story itself. We're going to read the whole thing straight through, page by page, the way the original readers would have experienced it, with every recap left in place so the continuity stays intact. 22 pages, one complete story. Start from the beginning. Wyndham Keeps Faith. What are you doing here, Guy Wyndham? Sir Richard Neville spoke harshly and surveyed his young kinsman with a frown. There was no sympathy in his tone, for the boy before him was ever deniedly in sore trouble. Tired and travel-stained, his eyes red-rimmed with tears and sleeplessness, his face drawn and pale, Guy Wyndham looked out of place in the antechamber of a king's court, yet he had nowhere else to go. His world had crashed about him 2 days since his father had come to Wyndham to show him the secret of the place. He stowed away a certain paper and owned that he was involved in a plot against the king. He must go overseas at once. I dare not take you with me, Guy, he said. You might be left alone in a foreign land. Here your dead mother's kinsman will surely befriend you for her sake. I have been foolish, lad. The evidence is all against me. I would face it out, but there is something I must attend to first. Things had happened swiftly after that. Riding back from the coast where he had seen his father take ship for France, Guy had found Castle Wyndham confiscated. He had been ordered to leave at once with only the clothes he wore. He carried a few articles in a saddlebag and a small amount of money that the father had given him. Now, at the home of his mother's relative, he found no welcome. He made his appeal with little hope in his heart. My father bade me to come to you for help and advice, Sir Richard, he answered, flushing. Everyone had turned to listen. He presumes upon my friendship. I count no kinship with traitors or with the traitors' sons, Richard Neville returned, in spite of his dismay at the curt refusal. Guy sensed that the great noble was uneasy. You will not even advise me, he pleaded. Get you gone. What is the matter here? The voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned to bow to the man who had entered the room. Though tall and broad-shouldered as were all the Plantagenets, his face was haggard and worn with illness. His hands twitched nervously, and his eyes were dark with suspicion. Henry, King of England, had coveted and seized the throne. Thus far his reign had been one of plot and counterplot against him. It is Wyndham's son, my liege, Sir Richard answered. The lad has had the impudence to seek my help. I have disowned him and told him to leave the court. You're all right, King returned sternly. Come to me, Guy Wyndham. Why have you sought a court where common sense must tell you that you are unwelcome? I had nowhere else to go, my liege. I came to Sir Richard to seek for counsel. I did not know what to do. My father has gone, and my home too. As is just and right in the case of a traitor. Get you gone, Guy Wyndham. You must find work and shelter for yourself. Guy's face was blank with dismay. How was he to find work? Who would dare to employ a traitor's son? You may not appeal to the guilds, the king told him, nor may you go overseas. The ports are closed to you. See to that, Neville, and communicate with your father at your peril. One proof that you have done so and you share his rightful fate. I have no means of communicating or of going anywhere, Guy faltered. I am striving to be loyal, my liege. Where can I go? He added pitifully. Help came from a most unexpected quarter. The lad is only 14, royal father, said a clear voice. How is he to find any place of refuge? Suppose his father is a deeper dyed traitor than we have proof at present. Does that make Guy one? He has never been in the court, and I miss my guess if, after this, he has any desire to be there. Sir Richard Neville should care for him. It is a clear duty. Guy's startled eyes met keen blue ones, which were full of sympathy. They belonged to the young man, tall and erect, bronzed with outdoor life, whose lips were stern with indignation just now. I make my own decisions, Prince Harry, said Sir Richard curtly. What business is this of yours, Harry? The king asked his son. Black sheep should herd together. There was laughter in his voice now. Guy Wyndham would be dusky gray compared with Harry, Prince of Wales, my father. You are right there, the king retorted angrily. You who should be upholding the throne of England are, as usual, in arms for a traitor's son. Go back to your own quarters and do not appear at court until I send for you. As you will, my father. What of Guy? He can go anywhere. He will be watched wherever he goes, the king answered coldly. Then there is no reason that he should not come to me, returned Prince Harry, coming forward. Will you share the home of the black sheep, Guy? He added. The words were lightly spoken, but the prince's face was wistful. He was hurt. It was easy to see that Guy realized that here was someone as deeply wounded as he. I thank you, Grace, he said shyly. I will come gladly, and I will strive to serve faithfully. Wait here for me, the prince ordered. I have some things to gather and a horse to be saddled. You were riding? You shall have room for the animal too. The king had gone into the inner chamber, where, with drawn swords, his guards surrounded him. Why, in an England at peace, should he have to hold court thus? Guy wondered. Then Sir Richard Neville looked displeased, stopped at his side. You should have refused that offer, he said angrily. I do not want you in London. Guy flushed resentfully. The king had me seek my own place, he answered. I could see naught else to do but accept friendship, Sir Richard. You are a spoiled lad, the nobleman answered. He made his way to the court, but stopped a moment to speak with someone else, a man of equal rank who was frowning uneasily. Through tones that were low, Guy caught the words. If not to let the prince have the lad, Neville, it is dangerous. He knows nothing and can guess nothing. Besides, there are other ways and means, Chaney. He passed on. What was the matter with the court? Guy wondered. Everyone seemed tense and afraid. Then he flushed again as he was aware of the hostile eyes about him. Only one seemed friendly. A girl, evidently one of the Queen's maidens, smiled at him. As the call for them, she managed to pause for a moment at his side. Don't mind so much, it will pass, she whispered. I feel so alone, the boy answered forlornly. You have a friend at court in Anne Gascoigne, he returned, and ran on to join the other ladies in waiting. Anne Gascoigne. She must be the niece of the Lord Chief Justice, Guy thought, heartened by her kindly words. Come, Guy, I am ready now. It was Prince Harry who spoke. Guy followed him to the courtyard. An old serving man held two horses, one the prince's, the other Guy's own. As they mounted, a groom rode up with the old man's steed, and the prince introduced the old man as Simon, my seneschal for many a year now. To Guy's surprise, it was not to the palatial houses across the riverfront that they took their way, but to one of the poorer part of London. Whatever Harry might be at court, there was no lack of welcome here. As apprentice and shopman, poor folk and merchants smiled and waved. Harry returned a kindly word or two with them. They turned at last into a courtyard of a house from which songs and merriment sounded. These paused as the arrival was known to the merry crowd. Harry's face lighted as 3 or 4 young men ran out with joyous greeting. An absurdly fat old man, hailed as Jack Falstaff, stood in the doorway. The sun doth shine again, he shouted. Our Hal is home again. We thought we had lost you, Harry. Waste no time, there's merriment to be had. Harry went with him, and Guy stood wondering what to do. Simon addressed him. Come with me, my young lord, and I will show you your sleeping quarters. He led the boy to the top of the house. It was only an attic chamber, but comfortably furnished. Simon held out his hand for Guy's saddlebag. He opened it, and Guy flushed. I have but little, he apologized. Everything was confiscated, and I was only allowed to take this. Little enough it is, Simon returned, as he held up the meager array. We must see about more. Maroon and brown cloth for one day you will be wanting, the prince of blue for court, and scarlet velvet for best. Scarlet velvet, just what I've always desired. It will become me vastly, Simon. A tousled head of bright red hair came round the door. The head was lifted to display a snub nose, a round, freckled face, and merry, greenish eyes. Scarlet velvet, a pretty object you would have, Master Ralph, Simon returned, and you have your livery already. Dame Gillian said she would not mind to me again, and rent it in it is enormous, Simon. Besides, she would want to know how I did it, and I would rather not say. In mischief, of course. It was a nail beneath the pantry shelf that came out of unfriendly fashion, Simon. You were after pastries again, Master Ralph. You know it all as well as I. I was nigh dead with hunger. Who is it? A new page? Aye, and don't you lead him into any of your mischiefs, Master Ralph. I'll put the saddlebag with your harness, my young friend. We shall get the clothes. I know, Simon. Ralph dropped cross-legged on the floor. Simon's introductions are vague. Who are you? Guy Wyndham. Guy expected his guest to go at once, but Ralph sprang up and held out a grimy hand. I need a friend, he announced. Well, Simon would have me look after you and keep you out of mischief, but how am I to prevent it if you insist upon trouble is beyond my poor wit. I will try to keep out, Guy laughed, and Ralph climbed up on the window seat beside him. What do we do? Are you a worker? Good sir, we rise with the sun and ride with the prince. That is fun indeed. Then we hie us to Westminster and study under Brother Jeremy's evil eye. There are royal pages who look down upon us, and merchants' sons who con their books while we look down on them. At noon, back to our duties, then tilting, sword play, and the like, unless the prince requires our attendance. Owen, master of the royal pages, comes in the last of the afternoon to instruct us in armory and blazonry under his eye. Alas, I cannot draw, and that eye is always on me. Most important of all, we keep to ourselves and do not mix with the rest of the household. Odd moments are filled with duties no one else wants. He peers out of the window. My faith, we are being watched again. What is that man waiting about over there for? Guy knelt beside him. That's the man who's hanging around Wyndham when I left, he said. I saw him 2 or 3 times afterwards. What does he want? You'd be like, no, there is someone else talking to him. He's wearing the livery of the House Neville. What's Sir Richard after now? Ralph asked. It is queer. Guy sat down again. What is wrong, Ralph? Everyone seems afraid. They are, Ralph answered soberly. You have come in troublous times in London, Guy Wyndham. The story so far. An outcast because his father is suspected of treason, Guy Wyndham is befriended by Harry, Prince of Wales. Harry is in disfavor with his father, King Henry, because of his wild escapades. Guy Wyndham, all his goods confiscated, is taken by the prince to live with his friends in a poor section of London. Here he meets Ralph Crosby, who warns him of danger ahead. Why should people be afraid? Guy asked. It's a plot, Ralph said doubtfully. Not very easy to tell you, Guy. You mean it is the one my father was mixed up in? Guy said steadily. I ought to know something about it, Ralph. How was it found out? It hasn't been found out, and that's what is the matter, Ralph answered. It is known there's a plot, but just who is in it and what it involves, nobody knows. Some papers of your father's were found, and it looks as if he and some others were plotting to oust the king, and were dallying with France and Scotland. It has been going on for years. They thought it had ended with the death of the great Hotspur of Shrewsbury, but it hasn't. Some think it is spies, some think it is Scots, but most believe it's some great lords, only they do not know who. Doesn't Prince Harry know? Nothing more than we do. That is queer, too. 6 months ago, Prince Harry was the first at court. We were all there. He was the king's right hand at every council, regent when his father was ill. Suddenly, he was ordered away to take up residence in the city of London. Aye, and that made the trouble worse, because he would live here among the people instead of on the riverside. He can only go to court when the king calls for him. He, who is Prince of Wales and our next king. But there is the supper call. We must go. Francis Cheney, the senior page, joined them at supper. He frowned as Guy was introduced. Are we to associate with the trader's son? He asked in a loud whisper. Guy clenched his fist and flushed angrily. Before Ralph could reply, the prince spoke. You may return to the court if you wish, Francis, he said crisply. Here you will treat Guy Wyndham as my trusted personal attendant, and in the same position as you and Ralph. Of course, your grace, Francis returned smoothly, but the glance he threw at Guy told the lad that he had another foe. Still, he did not worry over it unduly. He did miss his father, but the days were too full for brooding and sorrow. The rides in the morning with the prince drew him closer to his young royal master, and he found friends in Brother Jeremy, the master of the monastery school, and Simon, and old Dame Gillian, and Ralph. For the rest, it was a strange household. There were many tales told, and all grew in the telling, tales of the prince, who was loved by all London save the authorities, Guy found that it was an injustice that provoked his wilder deeds. There was the story of the marauders held swords' points and forced to build up the stall they had robbed and wrecked. Another told of the Lord Mayor of London led by an invisible guide in the fog to see with his own eyes the miserable hovels of the poor. Still another concerned the little mercer deprived of his prentices by the tyranny of the master of the guilds, whose goods were sold by Harry himself, calling out, "What'd you lack?" with the best. Many were madcap pranks played on the same master of the guild, Alderman Peter Morton, whose miserliness and smugness irritated the wild lads whom Harry had gathered about him. But the Harry that pages saw was different. To them he talked gravely and inspiringly, and in their welfare he was always interested. It was he who got rid of the mysterious watcher, and who saw that Guy went nowhere alone. Guy and Ralph knew the prince's hours of depression and his longing to serve the father and the country he so loved. His father's illness was to blame for some of the unwanted suspicion, but there was something else amiss that Harry could not fathom. New trouble came in a few weeks. He stood at the window watching Guy and Ralph play at quoits in the rain. Both were wet through, and were finally chased in by Simon and scolded by Dame Gillian. The prince turned as the door was opened unceremoniously, and Sir John came in. "A fair good morrow to you, good Hal," he wheezed as he dropped onto the chair. "There's sport planned for tonight. Master Peter Morton will get his comeuppance. The old miser has parted himself from 1,000 crowns, no less, to be placed in the sheriff's care. It's a reward for the man or boy who can prove one of his household a highwayman. It's a challenge and a dare. We're in trouble enough without seeking more, John. He's going to court tonight. We plan to waylay him and land him in Smithfield woods, where we can find all the highwaymen and outlaws he wants. Will you come?" A knock came at the door. Harry turned to it as his brother Humphrey entered. The young prince smiled at him. "Greeting, Hal. May I talk with you?" he asked. John Oldcastle rose heavily and waddled out. "How can you stand that old man?" Humphrey said, looking after Sir John. He turned back to Harry, a worried look on his face. "The doctor does not think well of our father, and he's wearying for you. Come to court tonight. He needs you, Hal." The prince's face was troubled. Few knew how he loved his father, and how he grieved over their estrangement. "I was dismissed in open court," he said slowly, "but I will come tonight. We shall welcome you. I cannot stay now." Humphrey took his departure, and Harry, his mind full of forebodings, forgot Sir John and his plan. "I'm going to court," he told Dame Gillian some hours later. "I shall want Ralph to go with me. Francis is with his father tonight." "Ralph cannot go, your grace. Those foolish lads played quoits in the rain and came in shaking. Ralph is sneezing and coughing, and it's in his bed I've put him with poultice on his chest, and a cup of bone-set tea I made him drink. Guy took his when he came in, but Ralph, the young rascal, poured his away." Harry whistled softly in perplexity. "I shall have to take Guy, then," he said at last. "Tell him, dame, and tell Ralph I expect his obedience to you." Thus it happened that Guy found himself in the court again. Harry had meant to leave the boy in some obscure corner, but an attendant ushered them both into the king's presence. The king looked ill. For a moment his face lighted as Harry bent his knee in homage, then frowned as his eyes fell upon Guy. "Why have you brought that lad here?" he demanded. "Ralph Crosby is ill, and I had no one else." "Could have come alone, then," the king returned fretfully. "The lad has arrived. Take that dagger from him, Harry." Harry held out his hand, and Guy put the dagger. It was his treasured possession, one with the arms of Wyndham upon it, an heirloom of his house. "Go and wait in the antechamber," Harry bade him as he put the weapon in his own belt. Guy obeyed him. "You should have known better than to have forced yourself here," Sir Richard Neville said, as the boy passed him. "We are watching you, Guy Wyndham. Have a care." The boy stood alone in the antechamber. A light touch on his arm made him turn to face Anna Giscorn. "Don't mind so much," she said. "You can have friends if you try to make them." "How can I make friends when everyone counts me traitor?" Guy burst out. "You had best go, Mistress Anne, lest they blame you for talking to me. You'll miss the merrymaking." "Come and dance, then," she said, dimpling as the alderman, headed by Peter Morton, passed through to the president's chamber. Guy shook his head. "The prince said I was to stay here and see he comes now." I am sending you home with a groom, Guy, Prince said kindly. Tell Simon I may be late. He passed on, and Anne threw a smile at Guy as she went to join the other girls. Guy rode home thoughtfully. Her kindness had eased his hurt. He would wait up for the prince, he decided, as they reached home. Anne left an hour later under escort of Peter Morton, who did not please her. As Harry watched them depart, the memory of John Oldcastle's words suddenly came to his mind. He mounted his horse and rode after them, but the rain and fog had made confusion of the streets and delayed him. Suddenly he found himself in a crowd of footpads, whether his own men or real ones, he did not know. He flung himself impetuously into the fray. Midnight struck, and still the prince did not come. At home, Guy was about to give up his vigil, just as the last chime rang out. A knock came at the door. Old Simon opened it, and the sheriff of the city of London strode in. "I'll hold a warrant of arrest for one Guy Wyndham," he said sternly. "Are you the lad?" He laid his hand on Guy's shoulder. "Guy Wyndham, I arrest you in the king's name on a charge of highway robbery. It would be well for you to say nothing. This is your dagger, is it not? It was snatched by Mistress Anna Gascoigne from her assailant." Guy went white. Simon tried to interpose. "The boy has been here for hours," he began. The guy put his fingers to his lips. "Keep quiet," Guy whispered. Then he turned. "It is my dagger, Master Sheriff. I will go with you." "The boy daft," Dame Gillian joined them, but the sheriff hustled his prisoner into the street. Guy found himself thrust into the dampness of Newgate Prison. There was only one thing clear in his mind. He must go through with it all. As Guy pondered in his cell, Harry had returned to his lodging. "But it is all folly! Guy arrested as a footpad?" he exclaimed as Simon burst out with the story. "Besides, it's all nonsense. The boy could have nothing to do with it. You knew he came in 3 hours ago. Why did you not speak?" "I was going to, Your Grace, but the boy put his finger to his lips and whispered for me to be silent. Then he surrendered, and the sheriff took him to Newgate." "We will clear it up tomorrow. I will see him, and I will see Judge Gascoigne," Harry said. "As to the others, I shall have plenty to say to them. Guy is shielding someone, and it cannot be Ralph." He went to his own room more disturbed than ever. There he paced up and down. Highway robbery could mean long imprisonment and even death. And he has foes, mysterious ones, Hal thought. Could they be in this? He looked up, and Simon entered with the tray of food. "Dame Gillian says you are to take this and go to bed, Your Grace," told the prince firmly. "We can do naught tonight, but she, as well as I do, know that the boy was not out after 9 o'clock when he rode into the courtyard with the groom. They say he will be brought before Judge Gascoigne tomorrow." "I will go to Old Barley myself," Harry said. "You and Dame Gillian must come too, no matter whether there are meals or not. The rest can fend for themselves. Yes, I will eat and sleep if I can, old friend, and you do the same." So far, Guy Wyndham, scorned because his father is considered a traitor, is taken in by Harry, Prince of Wales. While visiting the royal court with the prince, Guy is forced to surrender his dagger. He gives it to Prince Harry. Later, the same dagger is found at the scene of a highway robbery. Guy is arrested and brought to court. "Guy Wyndham, you stand accused of breaking the peace of highway robbery here in the city of London, of an attempt to rob the worshipful alderman, Master Peter Morton, and Mistress Anne Gascoigne. How say you, guilty or not guilty?" It was a white-faced, weary-looking boy who faced Judge Gascoigne, but Guy's voice was steady as he answered, "I do not plead, your worship." "You must one thing or the other, Guy Wyndham," the judge said sharply. "Highwaymen may face the hangman. Are you ready for that?" "If needs be," the lad answered. "Enter a plea of not guilty," ordered the judge, and a young lawyer took up his place at Guy's side. He conferred with them to little effect. Peter Morton was called to the stand. "I, the prisoner, had been at court in attendance upon the Prince of Wales. Mistress Anne Gascoigne had been talking with the boy just before he suddenly and mysteriously disappeared." "There was nothing mysterious about it." Prince Harry was on his feet. "I sent Guy to home in charge of the groom." "Sit down and do not interrupt the court," the judge commanded. Peter Morton went on with his tale. They had been attacked at Smithfield. His grooms had put up a fight but were outnumbered. The prisoner had been recognized thanks to Mistress Anne. "You would prefer to hear it from Mistress Anne? Very well." He stepped down, and Anne took his place. Yes, she'd been at court last night and had talked with Guy Wyndham. Had he forced himself on her notice? No, she had forced herself on his. She held her head high as a titter went through the room. The Prince of Wales had come and sent Guy home. She had later left with Alderman Morton. They were attacked, and when the Link boys ran away, she snatched the dagger from her assailant. Yes, it bore the crest of Wyndham. She was not sure that he had belonged to the footpads at all. He might have been trying to rescue her, only she was frightened. My faith, so that is why he is silent. The words burst from Prince Harry as he ran up the aisle. I demand to be heard at once. This is nonsense. The boy is innocent. Sit down. This is all out of order, the judge declared. You will be heard in due time if the defense calls you. The fiery Plantagenet temper had gotten the best of Prince Harry. You want the truth? He blazoned. Will you refuse the Prince of Wales? Prince and peasant are equal at the sword of justice, the judge returned. Sit down and be silent or face sentence for contempt of court. He rose as he spoke. There was a harsh blow, and the judge fell as Harry stood ready to strike again. Judge Gascoigne struggled to his feet. Arrest that man, he ordered, pointing to the prince. No one moved. Prince Harry's sword was out, and judge and prince faced each other, blue eyes meeting calm gray ones. Slowly, the angry color died in Harry's face. He dropped his sword. You're a prisoner, Master Sheriff, he said, and held out his hand. Shakily, the sheriff spoke the words of arrest. Prince bowed. 3 days in Newgate prison, the judge said, and Harry followed the sheriff from the room. He paused as he passed Anne. Guy did not wear that dagger last night, he said in a low tone. She looked at him with startled eyes and nodded. Could she reach her uncle now, she wondered? No, she could not. Simon and Gillian did not know what to do. The jury was giving a verdict of guilty, and Judge Gascoigne was pronouncing sentence. It was not the worst. Judge Gascoigne was ready to give a lad a chance, but it was bad enough. Today, in the pillory. The public whipping and 4 months in Newgate. Guy took it quietly. He bowed and was led away. Anne beckoned an attendant. I want to speak to my uncle at once, she said. Word soon came back. The judge had gone to court. Anne was to take the groom and ride home. I'm going by Charing Cross, she told the groom. The crowd would be round the pillory staring at the boy, he objected. Anne shook her head. She went on her way. Guy was in the pillory, but stood high on a platform mounted by 4 steps. He stood on tiptoe, hands and head confined, and already he was aching wearily from his cramped position. Swish! A rotten egg broke against his shoulder. A decaying apple hit him in the face. And other missiles followed fast and furiously. A sharp flint cut his face. Suddenly there was a rustle of skirts and a girl's indignant voice. Stop it, you cowards! Anne stood before the pillory, her face flushed, her hands clenched. An egg broke on her cloak. I don't think he was holding me up. I think he was trying to rescue me. But it was all foggy and dark, and the Link boys ran away. I was too scared to think. I grabbed the dagger, and just then the sheriff came up. Did you have that dagger last night, Guy? The judge asked. No, your worship, Guy faltered. But it is all right. I can take the punishment. I know he was not holding up Mistress Anne. Darkness fell on him, and he knew no more. When he came to himself, he was lying on a couch in a strange house. He stared as the door opened, and Anne appeared carrying a silver bowl. She came over and brought it to him. You were to drink this, she said. Now be careful and don't slop it over me and yourself. We're messy enough with eggs as it is. Where are you? Right in my uncle's house, and here you are to stay for a bit. And stop worrying about the prince. He is all right, and nobody knows anything about his part in this. Uncle told the sheriff that you had been proved innocent and that he was responsible for you. The prince will be freed the day after tomorrow, and the king is not angry. What did he say? That he was proud to have a chief justice who was brave enough to enforce law even on royal blood, and prouder still to have a son who would accept it. In Newgate the hours lagged. With nothing to do, Harry eyed his cell with disfavor. He did not mind the bareness, but the grime and grease and dirt. The sleepless night did not help matters, but at the end of the second day the bolts were drawn, and Harry sprang to his feet to kneel before his father. You have come to me yourself, sire, he faltered, his eyes wet as the thin hand was laid on his shoulder. Your father's place is here, my son, the king said. Rise, lad. It has rejoiced my heart to know that you could take this punishment. Oh, Harry, you would not forsake your wild ways. I need you. I am growing old. There is peril around me, and I have none to trust. Come back to court and break with these wild companions and the traitor's son who caused all this. He is innocent, my father. Anna Gascoigne snatched his dagger. He said it was his. By your command, he wore no weapon that night. You did not give it back? Harry, you were not the assailant. You, my own son, a footpad on the London streets? I was not. I have broken the law, sometimes to rescue someone, sometimes because of the excitement, said Harry quietly, but I have not tried to steal a maid's jewels. I found myself in the midst of contending men and made my way to her. I rode home along this way and found the sheriff had arrested Guy. It was not until I reached the court that I discovered that he was shielding me. Loyalty to you has had most certainly, said the king. You must be free. Judge Gascoigne knows the truth now, said Harry. I will leave the matter to you, the king answered. You may bring Guy Wyndham to court with you, if you choose, and also Ralph Crosby. And my apologies on that. There's a mess up. One of the pages, it's really, really bad copy on these. So if there's that skip that occurs there, that's the reason why, because the pages are screwed up. The story so far. Sent to the pillory for robbery, Guy Wyndham is befriended by Anna Gascoigne, niece of the Lord Chief Justice. Guy's friend Harry, Prince of Wales, discovers that Guy is protecting him. He is arrested while trying to prove Guy's innocence. However, he explains his part in the robbery and attempted rescue. Prince and Guy are freed and return to their lodgings. I'm going after the prince, Ralph said. He has ridden home for the afternoon. Come along, Guy. Guy shook his head. I cannot leave this. Owen wants the king's shield reblazoned, and the crimson must be right. I wish you did not know so much, Ralph grumbled. It's a mistake to be so clever. It gives you so much more work to do. Goodbye. He ran off. Guy went back to his work and his rather sober thoughts. All had gone well for a few weeks, but things were amiss again now, and no one knew just why. Strange things were happening to him. Lord Cheney, father of Francis, came around to ask questions of Guy whenever he could find him alone. He generally refused to answer the questions about his father, and Wyndham and a certain paper which he knew nothing. Threats were whispered in his ear whenever he mingled in a crowd. He had notes thrust into his wallet bidding him the secret of Wyndham to the Nevilles. The last he always brought to Prince Harry, which he had bidden him wander nowhere alone on foot. It was all queer. People were very friendly to Lord Wyndham's son, that did not trouble Guy much, and was his staunch friend, and so was Ralph, and he was too busy to be lonely. Then the king had another of his attacks of illness, the worst of one of all. Indeed, this one the doctors declared him dead. Had he stumbled out of the king's room? Harry had stumbled out of the king's room, carrying the narrow golden circlet his father had always had on his pillow. He laid it on the table in his own apartment and had hidden his face on his folded arms. A bad son, how I hurt him, he sobbed. Father, father, if I could but atone, how I rule England when I cannot rule myself. Guy had heard the words and dropped away as John of Lancaster came in. Hal, they were mistaken, he cried. Your father lives. He is asking for you. Hal had come back to run with his brother. Humphrey had come back rather soberly to fetch the crown. The king had recovered, but Harry was seldom asked for now. The old trouble seemed to be back, whispering, bared records about the king and double guards everywhere. Guy looked up at the door as the door opened. 2 officers of the guard were there, and heavy hands fell on their shoulders. In the name of the king, one said, best make no resistance, Guy Wyndham, but come with us. Why? Guy burst out indignantly. What have I done? I belong to the household of the Prince of Wales. We bear the king's warrant. One of the men displayed it. Guy's dismayed glance recognized the signature. Henry Rex. And now that it authorized the arrest of Guy Wyndham on a charge of high treason. He had to pull himself together. I am loyal to the king. Am I to get to him? How am I to get to him? We are to tell you nothing, was the stern answer. Come. I may leave word for the prince. He will not be at court. The arrest was well timed. The place was deserted. The courtyard held no one. Guy found himself in a dungeon, small, dank room in the bowels of the earth, with one small barred window up near the ceiling. He dropped down on some damp straw on which lay some greasy sheepskins. Would anyone know where he was? What did they mean by saying the prince would not be at court? And Guy's one hope seemed to be Prince Harry. As the light failed, the door was opened. A jug of water and some black bread was brought in by a silent warder. Guy ate the meager meal and lay on the straw, listening with tense nerves to a scurry of rats and the drip of water from the wall. The great bell struck midnight. The bolt was shocked back. The warder ushered in Lord Cheney and fixed a torch in a sconce on the wall. Then he withdrew. Lord Cheney seated himself on a rickety stool, surveyed the surroundings with distaste. "It grieves me to find you here, Guy," he said smoothly. "You run rise to prove false, lad." "I have committed no high treason," Guy retorted indignantly. "I have not communicated with my father. I have kept my word, even though you urged me to break it on more than one occasion, my lord." "This is impudence, Guy, but you had better face the issue. No one knows where you are. Here you bide till you do our bidding. Your father hid a paper at Wyndham. We want the secret of the hiding place. That you will not get. The prince will be asking where I am. Your fellow traitor. That is the plot we expect you to bring into the open. Prince Harry is aiming at the crown." "You are talking utter nonsense." Guy was thoroughly angry now. "Prince Harry is in no plot. He is loyal to his father, the king." Lord Cheney rose. "I see I shall gain nothing by further talk at present," he said sternly. "You need look for no help from Prince Harry. He will believe, like everyone else, that you have fled overseas to join your father. Here you stay till you do our bidding." "Am I to have no trial?" "If there was anyone to demand it, certainly. A trial you will have within the tower walls. Then you face the headsman. There are things to be done first. We question you how and when we will." "God helping me, I will hold fast," Guy said resolutely as the door clanged, and the bolt was shot back. He lay there praying till the dawn broke, asking to be true to Harry and to England. He slept a little at last, and woke to the first of dreary days. They dragged on until he lost all count of time, days of scant food, of utter loneliness, and finally broken nights. Guy was roused again and again to undergo questioning. Sometimes it was Richard Neville, sometimes Lord Cheney, often two officers of the guard, and more rarely Prince Humphrey. His questions were never the most searching. As one boy's eyes looked into the other's, it seemed to Guy that the young prince was as puzzled as he was himself. Humphrey never asked about the paper, but the other questions were the same. What had Harry said? What was Harry planning? Own up that Harry was in the back of all the peril about the king. At first Guy answered some of the questions, but soon he found the best plan was silence. He would fold his arms and keep still, though the room seemed whirling about him, and he was weak and dizzy from lack of food and sleep. The officers were the harshest. Infuriated by Guy's silence, they would lash him with their whips till his clothing hung in rags, and he dropped unconscious at their feet. "Surely he will break soon," his tormentors would say. "What is the lad made of, that he can hold out like this?" "He is a Wyndham," Lord Cheney would say. "We have to have that paper and the Wyndham secret at all costs." His persuasions were always on that. "There is a row upstairs, Guy," he would say persuasively. "The prison still, but the sun shines in and the wind blows fresh and free. There's food, fresh bread, broth, meat, waiting there. If only you be sensible and give up the silly fight. Just two things, lad. Your name on this blank paper and the secret of Wyndham. You'll be in prison only a week or two, while we win your pardon from the king. You're only a boy. The king will be merciful. There will be a pardon in Wyndham for you." Guy would bite his lips to keep back the tears, and school himself to be silent. His home was Castle Wyndham. The thought of the downs and the fresh breeze of the sea, those were the sorest temptations. One morning there was a fumbling at the bolts, and the young attendant came. "Gowler's ill," he began. "Why, it's Master Guy Wyndham. What have they done to you?" Guy looked up. It was the young serving man, the boy who for a short time had been one of the prince's guardsmen, Giles Mead by name. Guy raised himself on his elbow. "Giles!" he cried eagerly. "Is it safe for you to be here?" "I am to look after the prisoners this week," he answered. "The talk is that you've gone overseas, but the prince is asking questions and getting no answers," he added shrewdly. "It wouldn't hurt for him to know where you were, I expect. Tell Mistress Anna Gascoigne. That would be the easiest way," I said, and Giles nodded. I'm going after better food than this, he announced. I'll be back in a few minutes. I'll see Mrs. Ann, never you fear. Guy knew that Giles was as good as his word. He felt heartened, though he couldn't see how even the prince could effect a rescue. He had not been as forsaken as he thought. Harry had been informed of the day of Guy's arrest that no one was to be admitted to the ornate apartments of the tower. Furthermore, the king's command was that the prince was to return to his own home. No reason was given. When he demanded Guy's attendance, he was told that the boy had broken parole and had gone to France to his father. Which I do not believe for one moment, Harry told Ralph. Ralph, dressed as a yeoman, haunted the tower, but could learn nothing. One day he managed to get a speech with Anna Gascoigne, who was as certain of Guy's trustworthiness as he was himself. He has fallen into the hands of his foes, she said sadly. I can find out nothing, but I will keep on trying. Giles, however, had little difficulty in finding her. He peered over the garden hedge and, seeing she was alone, beckoned her. She went over to him. You have no business here, she said. What do you want? I have a message from Master Guy Wyndham. He jerked his thumb over his shoulder. He's in yon prison, and it's shameful the way they've treated him. He told me to tell you that the plot's against the prince. Don't mind me, he said. Warn Prince Harry. Anne's eyes were full of tears. Go to the riverside and find Ralph Crosby, she begged Giles. He dresses as a yeoman, but you'll know him all right. He can tell the prince, and I will tell my uncle, Judge Gascoigne. Giles nodded and ran off. Anne hurried back to seek permission to spend the night at home. Guy struggled to his feet. In the dusk, he heard voices on the stairs. Were they coming earlier? He wondered wearily. Then Giles opened the door. My lad, my own dear lad, said Prince Harry. The prince! Are you real? Is it only a dream again? Guy sobbed. Harry himself. Strong arms went round him. Then as he was drawn under the window. Harry looked at him aghast. What has happened? He asked. It does not matter about me, Guy said. It's your grace that they're trying to find out about. They say you're plotting against the king and you want a crown. Are they all daft? Harry asked. Come, lie down. You, Giles, had better go upstairs and be very sound asleep. Leave the door unbarred. I am minded to find out what these questioners want. I know the tower well, and they can try to find out how I pass the guards any way they like. Giles nodded and obeyed. As the light faded and footsteps were heard, Harry withdrew into the darkest shadows. The door opened, and his brother Humphrey, with a candle dipped in his hand, entered the room. The story so far. Guy Wyndham, friend of Harry, Prince of Wales, is secretly arrested and put in prison. Although he is cruelly tortured by the real traitors, he will not reveal anything about his father or Prince Harry. The guard tells Anna Gascoigne of Guy's imprisonment. Anne gets word to the prince, who goes to see Guy. As they are talking, Humphrey, the prince's brother, arrives. I have come to try to make you see reason, the prince began. We know there's a plot, Guy. We know you were in it, and the Prince of Wales, too. You're only harming yourself. What have they done to you? Your grace can see that for yourself, Guy returned. I am in no plot. I have been loyal to the king, and Prince Harry is loyal, too. This is all folly. It is proven, they tell me. Harry is plotting. I do not understand it at all, but I must know about Harry. I must. His voice broke in a wail. Oh, what has Harry done? The blessed plan would be to ask Harry himself. Humphrey swung around as the grave tones reached his ears. Harry, Prince of Wales, confronted his brother. The two stood facing each other. Humphrey, nervous and uneasy. Harry, stern. What do you want to know? He demanded grimly. Why are you taking part in torture with this boy? I have nothing to do with that, Lord Chaney sent me to ask questions. Harry, why did you plot? Could you not wait for the crown? I can wait indefinitely for a crown. Are you authorized by our father to do this questioning, Humphrey? It is most unlike him. He is surely ill and is breaking his head over you, Harry. We have to save him in every turn. It was the court that had decided this questioning. We want the plot out in the open, and Lord Chaney thought that Guy would talk to me. I suggested the court take time to study the laws of England, Harry said. For England. A lad is arrested secretly. He is starving, beaten, and questioned till he is most crazed. All this without a trial or a definite accusation. Shame on all of you. If only I could prove that you were innocent. Humphrey sounded near tears. If I am plotting so seriously, I had betrayed now what I am doing, Harry said. What have I done? Never mind my feelings. Plantagenet can face the truth. It was your wild ways, Harry. That started it all, the lawlessness. I acknowledge that. I also landed in Newgate. That is not the treason, nor are the silly rumors that I have heard of being in league with France. It is known that you aim at a crown. Who proves that? You seized it and carried it away. The day that our father was thought to be dead, John and I left, you stayed. I picked it up as I have done before with my father woke from sleep or when it troubled him. I had it in my hand when I bent to kiss him. I went out, not realizing I still held it. I flung it aside in my own room. He brought it back. I saw, your grace, said Guy. Harry spoke sadly. Your word and mine would be of little use, lad. Is this the reason that the court accuses me of treason? Some are asking about our father's illness. He was better until you came home. And then they think I've drugged him. Who says this? Warwick and Neville, Cheney, Scroop, and even Northumberland. You mean they demanded my banishment from court, Humphrey? They fear you. Does my father believe this? Surely not. Humphrey nodded. They brought proof, Harry. And is there nothing in me that my father can trust? Harry returned. He stood there white and tragic. He got his breath and went on resolutely. There is one thing you may remember. Unless I am cleared of all this, I will never wear England's crown. On the word of Plantagenet, I promise you on this. They would not choose you. I should not take it, Harry answered quietly. Best go now, Humphrey. Say nothing of all this to my father or the court, and leave my lad alone. I am biding with him until morning. And you are innocent, Harry. Will you forgive my doubt? Harry smiled. It is much to have a brother's love, Humphrey. Go now. As the door closed, he turned to Guy. Though the way is open, I cannot release you now. Can you stand all of this for a few hours more? I can, your grace, Guy promised. As the dawn broke, the prince took his departure. There is trouble, Neville, Lord Cheney told Sir Richard some days later. By some ill hap, Prince Harry has found Guy Wyndham and talked with him last night. We must get the boy away at once. Pontefract would be best. He can disappear there. We shall have to have the king's consent, Sir Richard answered uneasily. Leave that to me, Lord Cheney said confidently. But they were ill at ease at court that afternoon. The king sat silent and weary, and there was no merriment. The page came in. Lord Chief Justice would have speech with your majesty, he said, bowing low. Your majesty is not fit for affairs of state, Lord Cheney urged. Shall I see what he wants? The Lord Chief Justice does not come on idle errands, said the king. Bring him in, lad. Judge Gascoigne came in gratefully. I am sorry to trouble your grace, he said. I have here a sworn accusation that Guy Wyndham, under arrest for high treason, has not been brought to trial. Instead, he has been half starved in a dungeon and ill-treated for the past 3 weeks. This must be a mistake, the king answered. Guy Wyndham is under arrest, lodged in the upper chambers of the prison tower, until such time as I can question him. I must do so. He is of the household of Harry, my son. It is an outrage that your majesty should be so troubled, Lord Cheney cried. Who brings this accusation? The Prince of Wales, Judge Gascoigne answered calmly. Guy is not in the upper prison at all, Humphrey put in. He's in the lowest dungeon. I saw him there myself. When? Asked the king sharply. What have you to do with this, Humphrey? I was to ask to question him, Lord Cheney thought he would talk to me. He didn't, my father. The boy has been impudent and obstinate, Lord Cheney declared. He's maintained a sulky silence. I thought a little hardship might make him see reason. I will return him at once to the upper room, Judge Gascoigne, and see him tomorrow. You will see him here and now, said the king sternly. Take this ring, Humphrey, and fetch him. There was tense silence while they waited, and all eyes turned on the boy who came slowly towards the king. The king gazed at him in growing indignation as he noted the clothes hanging in ribbons, showing welts and half-healed scars on arms and back. Guy was grimy and unkempt, and his tired eyes were shadowed by lack of sleep. His thin face, gray with fatigue, and white lips made them all shiver. The question of Judge Gascoigne is answered, said the king grimly. Guy, who has treated you like this? Lord Cheney, Sir Richard, and the other men, Guy faltered. Oh, I have done not, your majesty. I have not plotted. They want the secret of Wyndham and the evidence against Prince Harry. He is loyal to your grace and to England. His dismay, the great tears rolled down his cheek, and he shook with sobs. Judge Gascoigne put a kindly arm around the shaking boy. He would have fared better in Newgate, he said indignantly. With your majesty's permission, I will make myself responsible for him. He is fit for no trial or questions. I will take him to my own home. Then take him, the king commanded. He got up from his chair to lay his hand on Guy's shoulder. Fear not, lad. This appointment is at an end. The affair will be gotten to the bottom. I do not ask uh, I don't ask you to stay. I know you would not run away. Yeah, again, cut off pages. These are really bad. And thus it came to pass that Guy found himself safe in the house of Judge Gascoigne. The sunshine poured over the bed on which he lay. The prince himself sent Dame Gillian with his nurse. Anne was a daily visitor, and sometimes the prince himself dropped in. Guy lay there, too tired for effort or thinking, while fears stalked in the tower, and those who had wronged him move about easily, banished from the presence of the king. There is a mysterious man below who would speak with your worship, the serviceman announced to Judge Gascoigne one evening. Is it safe to admit him? He may have a message of importance, the judge responded. Stay within call. The tall man entered. He threw aside a muzzled coat and to the chair the judge rolled forward. I had to come to you, he explained. I knew it could not pass the other guards and reach the king. Wyndham, why have you come here? To surrender and to right a wrong, was the quiet answer. I was told Guy was in anger because he refused to give up certain he was in the prison because he refused to give up certain papers. Here it is if you can make anything of it. He handed it to the judge. I am involved. At first I thought it was a plan to release for young Edmund of March, along the prison in the tower. He would have none of it, and I found out that the plot threatened England and tried to withdraw. They had all signed papers one night, not one under the other, but in odd places. I have no idea what they mean, but here it is. Fearing me, they betrayed me. I hid the paper before I left England. I got it from Wyndham last night. What of my lad? He is here, under my care. I shall have to hold you too until I see the king. You shall see Guy tomorrow. I shall give him the paper to show to the king. Joy and anxiety struggled in Guy's heart the next day. With his hand in his father's, he sat propped in the great chair. Judge Gascoigne himself had brought Lord Wyndham in, and had left his father and son together. They talked in low tones, though the guardsman at the doorway made no effort to listen. We have to face the issue, Guy, Lord Wyndham said quietly as he rose to go. Whatever befalls is for England. For the time, we can only wait. This is the paper for the king. See that it is placed in his own hand. God has you in his keeping, my son. You have true friends in Judge Gascoigne and Harry, Prince of Wales, who I fear can give him little aid at present. It was Harry himself who came in. Greetings to you, Wyndham. I am glad that you have come back. It was a mistake to go in the first place, Lord Wyndham answered. I feared for Edmund at March. Yet no one would think of him as plotting. The court is daft on the subject of plots, said Harry. They will believe anything and everything, no matter who tells the tale. Guy's troubles lie in his connection with me. If I could speak to my father, there is only one way, but I have not had the courage to take it as yet. The story so far: Guy Wyndham and Harry, Prince of Wales, are accused of taking part in a plot against the king. News of Guy's unjust imprisonment at the last reaches the king, who released him to Judge Gascoigne. Guy's father returns from France and visits the judge. He surrenders the paper the plotters have been seeking. Judge Gascoigne gives the paper to Guy. He and Harry examine it closely. Harry's eyes were sad as he watched Lord Wyndham hold his son to him. Guy made no outcry or protest as his father followed the guard. He himself dropped back in his chair. I must not be a coward, he faltered. You were never that, Guy, Harry said. After all, the story seems to be quite a different one from what we have heard. My father will be just. Let us look at this paper which has caused so much trouble. Guy handed it to him. It was the familiar piece of parchment covered with names. Harry pondered over it. Why write the names this way? Puzzled. Also, such names. We know Cheney is false, and we suspect Sir Richard. Your father has owned to the plot, but the others are incredible. Percy of Northumberland, Lacy, Walsingham, Suffolk himself. These are all men closest to the king. And why should France and Wales or Scotland be written upon it? He held it closer to the light. Guy rose and bent over with it. The most suspicious thing is that Cheney wanted it so badly that he was willing to torture you, Harry said. There's something coming out on it, Your Grace, Guy exclaimed. See the line there? It's the heat of the candle that is doing that, Harry exclaimed eagerly. Cheney had some invisible ink that he had gotten from Padua long ago. He has brought it out. See? The map of England. It was poorly drawn, but proof positive of the image. North marked for the Scots, the west for Wales, the Channel Isles and ports for France. Large tracts were marked for all the plotters. Harry and Guy stared at it in dismay. So that is the plot that has been brewing for years, Prince said at last. A puppet king and a great nobles ruling him and their country like those in France. My faith, can Englishmen salt England like this? Guy was shaking now. He pointed to the signature. James Wyndham, my father, he whispered brokenly. It is bad, Guy, but your father told Judge Gascoigne he signed this not knowing what it meant. Can he prove it? That's the question. This paper must be given up, Guy. You see that? Guy nodded. It's for England. He gulped back a sob. England and the king mean more than my father and myself. He lay there listening as Judge Gascoigne came in and talked with Harry. Desperate they are, and more desperate they will be once they suspect this proof is in our hands, Harry said. Keep Lord Wyndham in his secret place. Guy must be guarded night and day. I will send Ralph to stay with him, and there must be guards at your door and his. Get him and the paper to the court tonight. In the tower, their foes were busy. Cheney and Neville were ill at ease. Messengers were sent north and south and west. They still tried, though banished from the king's presence, to influence the Duke of Norfolk and the Earl of Warwick, staunch guards of their king. Guy Wyndham was a traitor, they insisted, and most disloyal of all and dangerous of Harry, Prince of Wales. We must rid ourselves of Guy, Sir Richard whispered to Lord Cheney. Too much would come out at his trial, and besides Wyndham, his father was returned to this country. They were apprehensive of what they heard, that Judge Gascoigne had arrived and was with the king. They did not see the others who were admitted by the postern door and taken directly to the king's apartment. It was with some degree of confidence they heard themselves summoned to the great hall. They came in unafraid, but stood dismayed as they faced the king. He sat there alert and stern, with his faithful nobles about him. On the table before him, its lines dark and unmistakable, was the paper they had been seeking so long. Under guard at the back was Lord Wyndham, and near him Guy, though he had not been permitted to speak with his father. Richard Neville, John de Lacy, and William Cheney, you stand accused of high treason, said the king. My lord marshal, make the arrest. There was nothing to say, and they knew it. Nevertheless, it was Richard Neville who blustered first. Who dares accuse me? He asked haughtily. Your own signature and other witnesses, the king returned. Warrants are out for the Marquis of Walsingham, Leslie of the Fen, and Percy of Northumberland. There are others, Lord Cheney sneered. Wyndham is a traitor, as is his son, Guy. Try us at your peril, your grace. The result will hit at your own household and involve Harry, Prince of Wales. He was led away, still shouting defiance. There was a commotion at the end of the hall. The guards were trying to bar the way, as an impetuous hand dashed one aside, and Harry came in and walked deliberately towards the king. Norfolk and Warwick drew their swords. Harry was not in armor. He wore a plain, dark blue tunic. In his belt, instead of a sword, was an unsheathed dagger. Straight to his father he came and bent his knee before him. Why are you here? How did you come? The king asked sternly. I forced the guards, father. Give me one boon. Let me speak with you for 5 minutes alone. That is impossible, Lord Warwick spoke sternly. The king may not speak alone with you, Prince Harry. Harry paid no heed. He knelt there with pleading in his eyes. It was the king who spoke. Am I a king of England or not? He demanded. That is a question for my decision. Come, Harry, I will speak with you in the inner chamber. He rose and walked slowly to the anteroom, where he was accustomed to hold private interviews. Harry rose and followed. As the king seated himself, he closed the door. Well, Harry, asked the king, It was only a few days ago that I was out of what I was accused, sire," said the prince. "Is it true that the court and you and your life was endangered by my presence?" "What am I to think, Harry? Over and over again you should have been right hand have failed me." The king's voice broke a little. "I own that," Harry answered. "Many times I have displeased you and sought my own way, but I have kept the word of you in Newgate Prison. Foes have been working against me, it is true, but has life been such that you think I would kill you, my own father, to win a crown? I did not know how far you would go," the king spoke sadly. "You seemed eager a few weeks ago. Crown worth the strife, my son. Harry de Lancaster was a happier man than ever. Harry, King of England, plot and co-plot, foes on every side, danger perhaps my own household, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown." And that brings us to the end of Wyndham Keeps Faith. 22 pages total, originally spread across multiple issues, each new chapter opening with those careful little recaps that both remind you where you were and quietly move the story forward at the same time. It's a perfect example of how these old serial comics used to work. Short, self-contained chunks that still demanded you keep up and somehow managed to feel complete when you finally had all the pieces together. This one probably didn't because of how broken it was, and as I mentioned before, the poor quality of the comic itself led to it being uploaded in a bad manner, I guess. But either way, most of the story was there, so hope you enjoyed digging into this one with me. If you know anything else about this particular serial, or you've ran across other forgotten all-hero stories like it, drop it in the comments. I'm always happy to chase down more of these obscure public domain deep cuts. That's it for this reading. Thanks for listening. My name is Felix Levesky. It's been SL Tonight. We are where the nightmares go. Good night.